What's up, guys? Hope you all had a great week. Today we're going to be working on our intake here. So we more or less got the filter where we think it's going to live. We also got some battery trays we want to put in here, and just to make sure we're not going to have any interference there. And we've also got our V-band clamp to get this lower intercooler piping actually connected, so we can get that on there, and just so we got the best idea of what space we have to work with and make sure that nothing's going to run into anything. But we want to build kind of a cold air intake box around this thing, sort of similar to like a S&B or something, with plexiglass over the top so you can see how dirty your filter's getting. And we want to make it to where you can just pull the filter off through the box without having to take a bunch of stuff apart. So we have a general idea, but we're going to have to fill it out a little bit also as we go. So we're just going to cut some sheet metal. I think we're going to use 16 gauge and start putting some brakes in it and see what we can make it look like. So let's get started. Well, I guess the first thing we can do is pull this out, want it in there so you can see what we're dealing with. We'll get our intercooler pipe hooked up. We'll put our battery trays in. We'll go ahead and do them both just to check fitment on those, and we'll get started on this box. Beautimus.
Yep.
Well, I'm impressed. That sucker fits like a champ.
Yeah, definitely fits better than I thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I guess we can stick our air cleaner back in here now and see what we're dealing with. I think it just got pretty tight.
Definitely looks that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. So what we were kind of thinking was, when the box came up, we were going to break a 1/2 inch in and then maybe a 1/2 inch or so down, just box it in like this, so we'd have clean edges up here. It wouldn't just have raw sheet metal. The problem I'm seeing already is that the air cleaner and the battery are going to be almost touching each other. So if we broke it in, then the air cleaner won't fit. So you need room, and that's what we're lacking at the moment. We can cheat this silicone 90 around a little bit. I guess we need to set a battery in here and see how much bigger the battery tray is than an actual battery. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to work. It's going to be tight. We can give it just a little extra room in the back to make sure the filter comes out nice and easy. I think we need to shorten our little pipe here about a 1/2 inch to make sure there's plenty of room for it to slip off and still come out. So I think that's probably going to be next. And it looks like there's, well, yeah, we might want to take an inch off of it just to be safe.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to need more room.
Yeah, I think we got plenty of room now. So I think we just need to take some measurements. So it's going to be pretty much right up against the fender here. And then we'll probably hit it somewhere in the middle of this little aluminum nipple. Be right up against the battery. And then whatever we need just to get the filter out. So I think the plan is to break this box out extra deep so that we have plenty to land in the back or the inside where the fender well is dropping off. And we'll just trim it, keep trimming it to fit, and slowly bring our height down until we're right where we need to be, because we don't really have any wiggle room up top. In fact, we probably need to clearance the fender well a little bit to get the filter to go down, because it is tight. That plexiglass is probably a quarter of an inch thick, and that's literally all we have between this part of the hood and this filter. So if we don't do anything with it, not only is the hood probably going to be contacting that plexiglass, but it also gives us zero wiggle room. We have to nail that height perfect, which I have a hunch isn't going to be that easy to do. So we may have to take a hammer to the fender well and get the filter down. Even if we can get a quarter inch, that'd be plenty. And the filter is actually setting right where the jack is supposed to mount. It's sitting right on this hump. So we'll probably have to come in here and put a, oh, my soapstone broke. We'll have to put a relief cut in here in order to make this round again. May have to put several of them. I don't know. Working sheet metal ain't really my area of expertise, but we'll make it work one way or another. Well, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Probably needs quite a bit of work to get it squared.
Oh, this looks small too.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess the next step was take it over there and tack it. Make sure it's all square. And we can weld this part out. Here's some plexiglass. Been laying around here for ages. We may not even be able to use it because this film's pulled off. probably all scratched up on this side, but give you an idea of what we're thinking. So that'll set in there. We want to cut kind of a ring that fits inside of here out of something a little bit heavier. Then we'll weld it recessed down to where this plexiglass is flush. So once we get it squared and welded out, we can get that piece made. And then the top part of it will be done. And then we can carry it in there and start marking and whittling away at the bottom and get it to fit that fender well and get the height down to where it's supposed to be. We'll go ahead and stop right there because there's a possibility. See, this side will be against the battery. We may leave some of this bottom open for the intake. So it's drawn from the front under that battery where it's theoretically cooler. So that should be it for the welding for now. We'll clean these welds up and make our ring. And move on to trimming. Alright, we've been beating our head against the wall on this deal because we were just kind of playing around with this filter and putting it in here, and we really are not loving it. We just feel like it's going to be a nightmare to get this filter on and off. You can't really get your hands in around it. So we considered scrapping the whole thing, honestly. We've been trying to come up with an alternative, but we can't come up with anything that we like better than this idea as a whole. So what we've decided to do is just kind of continue on as planned. We're going to get this fit to the fender well, and then once we get it where we like it, we're going to, when we have the hole cut where the intake comes in, we're going to split it in half. So instead of taking the plexiglass out to change the filter, we'll pull the whole top off of it. That'll expose the whole top half of the filter. It'll be easier to work with, and I think it's just going to make it a whole lot easier to change that filter. So I'm not entirely sure how we're going to put the pieces back together. We're thinking maybe just some ears, you know, spaced out to where they have to butt up, you know, with a couple of screws or maybe some little buckles. But we'll sort that out in the end. But I think that's going to be the game plan for now. Hopefully we don't run into any more roadblocks or hiccups, but that's the plan. We're going to get it in there and go back to whittling on this thing and make it fit the fender well. So that's what we're working with. We've got plenty of extra. It's got to go down a bunch. We'll just start drawing loose lines around it. Take it down a couple inches at a time. Every time we'll be able to make it fit that contour a little bit better till we get it where we need it. So we don't have a whole lot to go off with yet. It's just sitting on this one corner, but That's a real rough profile, and I think we can move all these lines up, probably even more, and just cut it out like this. That'll get us a little bit closer. Such a long way to go. There's not a whole lot of risk of overdoing it at this point and getting a gap, because we've got to take out probably 6 or 7 inches. So in the end, I think we're going to be up here somewhere, but no need to go that crazy. Just a little at a time. We'll go cut it, bring it back, fit it, go back, cut it, bring it back, so on. 600-700 times, and then that'll be that. So that's where we're going to start. Go cut this. Not going to bother grinding it, cleaning it up, nothing like that. Just cut it, stick it back in there, remark it again. All right, round 1. Yep. Still a long way to go. So it gets a lot easier to mark every time it gets closer. Yeah, we're already at the point where we got to do something with that inside sitting on the intercooler pipe.
Yep.
I think the plan is we're going to have to rip this brake and cut this brake, and we're going to fold it in. So instead of coming straight down on that tube, it's going to come in here, hopefully kind of perpendicular to this angle. And then we can mount it down here somewhere. We got to leave room for those pipes. So seems like about the best way to do it. All right, so that's the plan going forward. This is going to be the bottom of the filter in there. So we're going to cut this corner out and this corner, this brake. We're gonna have to put a pie cut in it here so that these 45s will come back together. And we're gonna bend it right along this 10.5 inch mark, which actually that pie needs to be here. So once that's folded in, hopefully it'll hit that fender well at a more desirable angle. And we can figure out something to tabs for, put a couple of bolts in it or something. Well, this is more or less what it's going to look like. So, as we suspected, trying to get this all put together inside this box was really tough. So, splitting it down the middle is going to be an absolute must. But before we do that, we want to address this problem. So the filter's resting on the fender well right now, and it's probably at least 1/4 of an inch above this surface. So we got to get it down low enough to get plexiglass over the top of it. So we're going to have to, right now we're thinking about trying to hammer a dish into the fender well versus, you know, building a dish and welding it into the fender well. But, you know, this sheet metal, working sheet metal like that's not really our specialty at all. We just don't have much experience at it. I hate to destroy this fender well because it's a good one, but I feel like it's what we gotta do. We gotta try it anyway. We got a 1/2 inch there. So this should give us a 1/4 inch between the plexiglass and the filter. We want the plexiglass to be flush with this top. So that ought to do it. I guess we can work on getting this plexiglass, this lip in here. We need to get some mounts in it. And then I guess we'll cut it in 1/2 and deal with that at the end. There we go. Pretty swanky. Let's go get it welded in and we can drill some holes and that part will be done. Well, we found some little screws. These are 1024 machine screws. So we're gonna go ahead and drill and tap that 1/8 lip. So these should work pretty well. We don't want anything too big and gaudy. So that's a pretty nice compromise there. So get a drill bit, drill some holes and get them tapped. So I guess now what we need to do is figure out how to mount this bad boy. I'm thinking just 4 tabs. Just find places where it's more or less flat and set them in there and just weld them.
That's what I'm thinking.
So I'm thinking run the bolts up through the bottom. So either have a tack nuts or use like 1/4 inch and tap it. I think it would have done it.
Yeah, probably.
We'll tighten it down on the next one. All right, got them all cut, cleaned up, rounded the corner off so it doesn't hit on a weld or break. They're pretty hot though. Well, I guess it's time. We built a pretty nice air box here. All we can do now is cut it in half and hope we can figure out how to make it go back together. So we're just gonna go around it right here at the center line of the hole, separate it, and devise a plan after that. That's pretty much how it'll be. So one thing we need to put some thought into is how we're actually going to get air in the box. Thinking about just opening up this bottom here. We could follow this, radius it taper back down. Something like that. May not even need to be that big. I think that the goal is to get more meat here. We thought about just punching a hole in it right here, a 4-inch hole, but then it gets thin. That's going to be the only thing. Well, if you just did a hole, it'd be connected here, but that's not offering much support. You just have a thin piece here that'd be flopping around when you try to get these matched back up. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I think that'll work pretty good.
So this corner where the mount is will be obviously stiff with all these lines. This back corner should be stiff. It's ready to mount. We got a decent amount of meat here.
Yeah. It'll work.
I like your optimism.
Well,
She cut.
what have we done?
I don't know, but it had to be that way. Call it poor design. Well, yeah, it stayed pretty stiff. I think that worked out. So what I'm thinking is we may be able to just get it with some little ears. Maybe 3 ears on each side, where it just slips back into place. We just force it to butt up. The ears will line it up. Could work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that would work.
I mean, this side's going to be against the fender, so I don't think we need an ear in the center, because if it's misaligned a little bit, you're not going to be able to see it. But honestly, it feels rigid enough to do it. I think that's where we'll start. So this is what we're thinking. Just a little tiny ear there. Get them welded on, then we can grind a little bit of a taper here to kind of guide it on. But that's about it. It's 1/2 inch wide by 1/8 thick. I think it'll work. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder now if we shouldn't have just done a flat bar from end to end and let the ends catch the movement that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought about that.
There's a lot of little teeth sticking up there. Kind of looks funny. I guess this way saves weight versus a long flat bar. Well, it goes right on there. Certainly can't twist anymore. I mean, it's locked in. I think that'll do it. I think it'll work.
Yeah, I think so.
go ahead and get them welded out, and we can stick it in the truck and see what it all looks like. Sitting on the pipe.
Are you sitting on the pipe?
Yeah, it needed to roll down a little.
Oh.
There we go. Oh yeah. Man, that looks good in there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's a super tight fit all the way around there. I don't think we're even gonna need to worry about sealing the bottom. Yeah, that thing looks good. Let's put the battery back in. See what kind of gap we ended up with right here. You can still get it in. Nice and snug. Yeah, just about a finger in there. About a ½ inch. Looks good. Engine compartment's filling up fast though.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
The only thing left to do is put our weather stripping around here, but there really isn't much point in doing it now. And we need to fasten this lid down. So we talked about drilling a couple of those ears and putting bolts in the side, but neither one of us is real crazy about that idea. We want to try and use some of those buckles, you know, where it has the hook and you pull it down where it'd suck it tight. We could put one here, we could put one over there and one back here. That's kind of what we wanted to do, so we didn't want to do something different just because we don't have those buckles. So we're going to get some of those and then we'll get them on here. But that's not a real big deal. So this thing is pretty much done. We're going to call that a wrap right there.
Yep. Sucker looks real good.
Mm-hmm.
With all the trials and tribulations, I think it turned out all right.
Yeah, that was an awful lot of work for an air box, but I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it definitely looks good.
Yep.
Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, make sure and subscribe to the channel, and then don't forget to go in the comments and type subscribe. That way you're into our monthly giveaways. Yeah, this month we're giving away a 5-pack of Vice Grip C-clamps. So there'll be a link in the description if you want to check that out. That's going to do it for this one. We appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.